Japan's humanitarian crisis grows more desperate. Before the tsunami washed back out to sea, it had crushed or destroyed the homes of nearly 400,000 people. Charities such as ShelterBox are helping out. A ShelterBox contains a tent, a water purifier, blanket, and a stove for heating and cooking. It's quick relief, but only if the ShelterBox can get to the people affected. And that's the problem. I'm joined now by Lasse Peterson, a member of the ShelterBox response team. So Lasse, first of all, tell me a little bit more about these boxes your group is giving. What's in them?
Yes, as you say, basically the essentials a family needs if they've lost their home after a disaster, be it an earthquake, tsunami, floods, or conflict situation. So emergency survival tent, high-quality tent for an extended family of up to 10 people, water containers, water purification, blankets to keep people warm, cooking equipment and cooking wares, and a pack for children as well.
And I suspect that this is not a light tent. This is probably quite a heavy thing to be carrying around the countryside.
Yes, the boxes are about 55 kilos and the tent is approximately 30 kilos. It's a high-quality thing because, you know, in some cases people may need to use them for quite a long time. So it's designed to withstand up to 100-kilometre-hour winds, torrential rain, whatever the elements might throw at us.
And so how are the efforts going to get these boxes delivered to people in Japan? We've seen these evacuation centers, 400,000 or 500,000 people in evacuation centers that have been made homeless. How's it going in terms of getting these tents to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's always challenging, and we mobilise after, you know, any major disaster pretty well. In places like Haiti or China earthquake or Myanmar, each of them has their own unique circumstances to deal with. Obviously, what we do, the team in first, and an initial consignment of boxes, get them cleared through customs, and then we're up there assessing on the ground what future boxes we'll need, how many of them, and what would be. We were in Japan 24 hours after the earthquake. We've been up visiting the worst affected areas up around Sendai, Minami Sanriku, and further north. I mean, sadly, scenes of complete devastation, entire villages washed away, three-storey buildings covered in debris and houses on the roof. Boxes have started arriving this week, down to Tokyo, working through clearing customs and just organising the logistics of getting stuff further north because there's a fuel shortage. It's very difficult to actually transport things around. Of course, we've had a lot of snow and cold weather, and then as well as that, there's the nuclear incident to deal with, which just makes it a little bit more difficult to move around and creates an atmosphere of uncertainty. But we have got our boxes here, and they've been driving through the night to get there. We're receiving them today, working with local community leaders and Rotarians, and hopefully we should be getting them distributed tomorrow.
And as you drive through the countryside, what strikes you the most?
Well, a mix of things, really. As I said, I mean, if you're close to the coast, you know, many parts, even where close to the epicenter of the earthquake, have stood up remarkably well, reflecting that building standards are very good in Japan. And similarly, the Japanese government have done a very good job of getting people evacuated to many of those centres. But of course, when you get closer to the areas affected by the tsunami, you know, it's a completely different world, and almost nothing has survived. You know, unfortunately, it's also come at a time where the weather has been very adverse, and you know that's making it very challenging.
So
our focus is really getting on with it.
And as you look around and you see the damage, how daunting of a task is it for you for relief and recovery efforts? How daunting do they seem at this point?
In those affected areas, it's very daunting. I mean, the access is closed off. Everything's covered in debris, so in many areas you still can't get to, and the sheer scale of trying to deal with, you know, the numbers involved very quickly are extremely challenging. Having said that, as I said, the Japanese government have done an excellent job, had many emergency centres prepared, so you know it's not challenging as say somewhere like Haiti where there is little government support and infrastructure. What we're trying to do here is plug the gaps very much, because when you've got 400,000 to 500,000 people affected, it's obviously difficult for anyone to get to all of them very quickly.
Lasse Peterson, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew.